It rained just about as hard as you could ever imagine it raining. It was almost biblical. It rained so hard for an hour and a bit. My God, they got some great drainage at this place. Barn never flooded. Not a drop of water in the barn. And there's some puddles and stuff around. But man, oh man. Whoever about this place wasn't screwing around. Yeah, so obviously it was a little late last night. I didn't get a chance to reach out to everybody. I kind of sent out a little note to everybody that owned the horses that raced. Again, we had a pretty good showing. How do I put this? The horses had a pretty good showing last night. Oh man, some bad luck for James. You know, I feel for him. I've been there many times. Never 2 races in a row. Never the daily double, so to speak. But I've been there. So Adrenaline Rush clearly wanted out in the last turn. James tried to squeeze out, and the power steering on those young horses is not as easy to kind of slice through somewhere. You know, with an aged horse, you can kind of move out and sneak your way out. Little push here and there. But the younger horses, when you try to come out with them, sometimes they get a little anxious and explode out. And I think that's what happened last night with that colt. But he wanted out clearly and wanted to get at them. Great news. You know, James said I knew I was getting set back, or he thought he was. He was worried he was going to anyway. He said he just let him idle through the lane, ended up 4th, but raced great. 54 last quarter and 28. Little deflating to hear those words. You know, I was about to come over to the track and warm up, and you know, you're listening to the phone, my phone. I was listening to my phone, and you hear there will be a placing. It's never a good feeling. And then when you follow it right up with such a short deja vu, it's a real kick in the junk. To finish 3rd with Beef and Cheddar, you're like, geez, he raced pretty good, you know, kind of didn't get away as well as we thought. I didn't know about the inquiry until afterwards. Obviously, I didn't catch the pylons in the first turn. It looked to me like he might have went through 3 anyway, but it was very nice of the announcer to already rule before the judges had a chance. It's so annoying. You know, it's hard enough, I'm sure, for a judge to do their job with this goofball. Making announcements for them. In the race before, Jody went through a pylon, but he hit a pylon, and Jody, it didn't look like he went through that pylon. And then in the next race, Dougie didn't look like it, but when James went through 3, it's clearly 1, 2, 3 from where I stand as the announcer, with absolutely no accreditation of any kind as far as judging is concerned. It looks like looks from my vantage point like he went through the pylons. Jesus, great announcer and a pretty good guy, but man, oh man, hate when he does that. Anyway, Beef and Cheddar got tossed, so James is a little pissed off. Obviously, felt bad. Obviously, a little embarrassed. As I said, it happens. So we're going into the next race. I didn't tell a lot of people this, but we entered. You'll laugh about it now. I entered Brilliant Corners in Dresden in the Prospect Series, and he didn't get in. They didn't go with the class. So Harry calls me at 10:15 because Harry's a pretty sharp guy too. And I'll be quite fair. Harry and James did not want to race him in Dresden. I just wanted to win. And after talking to Sylvain and knowing the horses that we were racing, I just didn't think. You guys know, I have never said too many nice things about Brilliant Corners, but I still wanted to give him a shot to win. So I said, we'll go to Dresden with him. I want to win. Didn't get in. Harry said, hey, that Dresden class isn't filling. May as well put him in the grassroots. Yeah, you're right. Fine, go ahead. Harry puts him in the grassroots. He comes first over. 54. The most improbable victory in my recent memory. I know it's fresh. It happened last night. But for the love of me, I cannot, for the love of God, I can't think of a more improbable winner that I was involved with. Maybe when I was a kid. My first ever lifetime win was $97 to win. But knowing what I know about Brilliant Corners, or thinking I know what I knew about Brilliant Corners, heading into last night, watching 2 of our best colts get disqualified, I'm just praying for a check. For the love of God, give me a check. First glance, he's got talent. He's going to sneak in for some money. come first over into Casey Coleman's horse, blow by her, open up 26-4 on the end of it, a mile, 54-1. I was watching the phone. I kept listening for the name to make sure that was actually Brilliant Corners. He raced huge. I tweeted afterwards, this is why anybody should buy a racehorse. If I have no idea, none. And people can say whatever you want. There isn't a human being. Even Sylvain told me he wasn't a Mohawk horse. Virtually, he's not even a grassroots horse. Just find some races for him. Realistically, what was I going to do? Race him in Dresden, win the Prospect Series leg, hopefully. Maybe even win the next leg. Shop him around and sell him, maybe. That's probably what I was looking at doing. It's going to be hard to do now because before the race, 3 people own Brilliant Corners. Myself, the breeder, Bob Burgess, kept 15 or 10% or 15%, and then another person, maybe 2, small amount. This morning, I own half of them, not the 75% I owned last night. I own maybe half of them. It looks like my tongue's blue. It is, because I was eating Sour Nerds. That's what it's come to. That's my lunch. Anyway, I was dumbfounded. First glance race, amazing. So good. But there's a horse with no quit. He's overshadowed by the horse that won it, and the story surrounding Brilliant Corners is incredible, and no one knows the story. If I sat down some night, if you guys ever come and you're at the races and we sit down and have a beer, it might even be a 2-beer story, but it's a great story. The entire training of Brilliant Corners is a movie all on its own. An improbable ending culminating in last night, but obviously not an ending to his career, but the culmination of last night, it's, as I said, improbable. First glance, though, raced his heart out, raced awesome, dug right to the wire. Little horse like him, 26-4 in both of them, 26-4 in the first over and second over trek. It's just a great mile from both of them. It really lifted me up. After that, you're like, Beef and Cheddar and Adrenaline Rush get set back. It sucks, but what about Brilliant Corners? So it was great. I was very happy with those 2 colts, and then to watch Warwie was up. He's not as good on the front, but he's so handy at the gate. And take nothing away from him. Pace 54 and a piece, 27 and a piece. You couldn't ask that horse to do an ounce more. Could beat fair and square, finished 3rd, and is not as good on the front, or never was training anyway. So, his best races are still ahead of him. The only letdown of the night for me, other than, obviously, unfortunately being set back, was Blue Monk, right? Scoped him, mucus, pimples, redness. Is it a virus? I hope it is, because if it's allergies, you guys know I talked about this, and my partners and I own a piece of Blue Monk, and I was happy to, right? And if it's allergies, I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. That horse is going to be down for about a month. I'm not racing horses in the heat of the summer that have allergies. So, in fairness to Blue Monk, before anybody starts selling and being worried about Blue Monk, there's lots of racing all year. Secondly, most importantly, he's right across the hall from where we welcome. Her white count on Saturday and Sunday was just below 12. So she was sick after her race, probably during her race. She's fine now and on antibiotics. So she's right across the hall virtually from Blue Monk. Not virtually, she's literally right across the hall, 5 feet away from Blue Monk. So not unrealistic to think that that he was a little sick last night. We'll treat him up, train him hard, and scope him after. If this is an allergies thing, then I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. And if it's not an allergies thing, don't worry about it. Either way, Blue Monk's a good horse. Pace 50, 55-3, 28-3 on the end of it, and we're talking like it's a funeral. Great mile for any horse. It's just we were very fortunate to have a very good race last night. I said to somebody after the race, am I ever glad that we put Adrenaline Rush in that super easy grassroots rather than going to that difficult gold division that went 2/5 of a second faster. Just told you there's no cakewalks in this business. There is no cakewalks. You think you're going to go find an easy race? You tell me where it is. We can't find easy races for anybody. This was a contentious point last week when we were talking about a few of the horses here that we can't find races to win with. you just have to just keep a very close eye on it. We all know what we're after. We all know what we want. It isn't just winning races. It's experiencing horse racing and the excitement and the entertainment that goes along with it. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable and realistic. And as the game changes and it loosens and tightens and we find classes and we don't, Stonebridge Simba, perfect example. Got him to the Meadows, fits proper classes where he's in with his own kind and did very well. Had some bad luck in Scioto, but we really just didn't have any luck with Simba since the start of the year. Get him to the Meadows, he just has a new lease on life. It's just the right tool for the right job. And we need to find the right horses, tools for the right classes. And it's difficult sometimes. So we have to be patient also, but at the same time realistic. So that's what I was getting at last week. I hope everybody knows that by now. Still coming off a pretty good high from last night. Really excited about how the horses raced. Brilliant Corners, oh my God. That's why I love this game. You just never know. It doesn't matter what you think you know or what you're sure you know, you don't know. And that's what's so beautiful about horse racing. So, globetrotting trained today. I trained her at the track farm. She was good. Really, really hot, and then the rain, the skies opened up. Man, oh man, when it rains here, it rains. I'm shocked. For an hour and a half, it rained as hard as it sounded and felt like it would never stop raining. I was finished up at the barn. Jason and Kirby are still going. It's 4 o'clock. I'm just leaving. And I'm looking here. A few puddles. The drainage is really, truly unbelievable at this place. It should be a pool everywhere. Anyway, I was glad to see Jim Lawson. For those of you who follow Jim Lawson, Jessica Buckley, management at Woodbine, I was glad to see them tweet out had a nice tweet last night about getting riders, thoroughbreds, and drivers. If they're gonna, virtually the crux of Jim's message was, now that you're letting professional sports athletes into Canada in this quarantine bubble, but not really a quarantine, why don't we start looking at what we can do for other athletes? Obviously, I'm not a world-class driver. I'm barely a driver. But I work on both sides of the border. And for those of you who are out there, I looked long and hard. I'm not a lawyer, but I looked at the COVID-19 exemptions, truckers, essential services. Now, here's the kicker. In Ohio, horsemen are considered essential services. That's why it was so easy for me to come over here. We're not in Ontario, which maybe we should be. Agriculture, especially for someone like me and us, I run a business on both sides of the border. I'm required to be on both sides of the border, which I think if I had a lawyer, if I needed a lawyer, I am exempt. It also says not just essential services and truckers, but underneath that there's one line about people that frequently work on both sides of the border. Now, define frequently. I haven't been home yet. I will at some point. I have to quarantine until I come back here. But define frequently, because I could frequently go home and see my family and have a driver like Billy Davis. I would argue that Billy Davis is exempt. And I know this is a contentious point, and I'm sure there's people out there that are going to look over this and email me back. Feel free. But from my standpoint, there is a line in there about people that work on both sides of the border. Now, I don't know what the exemption means. Does that mean you're responsible to take care of yourself, make sure you don't walk around in public without face coverings, without your temperature taken, that you don't have a cough, you don't have any symptoms of COVID, because you could be asymptomatic, as they say. So, hi. What about it? Oh, right now? Just go to that office? Okay. They forgot to sign the stake check last night. I gotta go sign it. But I mean, if you're gonna, when I'm in Ohio, and I'm not scared, but I don't want to be dragging. I'm not going looking for COVID-19, put it that way. Yeah, I'm staying at a hotel. I don't interact with anybody. When I come to the barn, it's the people that are here all the time at the barn. Now, I can't control what they do, obviously, but I do wear my face mask, and I do stay 6 feet away when I can. I social distance. I take stock of how I'm feeling. I understand when you're talking about what went on in the States. No disrespect to anybody in Texas and Florida, but when you look at who's in the hospital now, it's people 18 to 35. And those are people that probably didn't think they could get COVID or didn't care at the time, but they do, and you should. And I think again, no disrespect for Americans, but as Canadians, I think when you look at how we dealt with it, much differently than how the States did, and now that they still have the border closed, listen, I don't agree with a lot that Justin Trudeau did, but did a damn good job when it came to the health and safety of the people in Canada. Having said that, if there are exemptions to be given out, and I know when I went to the border the other day, to cross the border, there was no one there. There's 9 or 10 gates where generally it would be full of people going to the States. I was the only person there. There was one lane open. I was the only person in the place. So it's not like you have a lot of people going across every day. If truckers are exempt, and foreign nationals are exempt, and essential services people, healthcare professionals are exempt, there is a line in there about people that work frequently. So I think I would like to see frequently erased or expanded on, and say, listen, if you work in the States and you're back and forth all the time, and obviously I can enter the United States of America, I can come back to Canada. So I'm not, by no means am I saying I'm essential, even though I'm categorized that in Ohio, but there's a number of ways to attack this. Call it essential in Canada. That would help me, but I don't think that would help Tim Tetrick or Yannick Gingras or any of the big drivers go into Canada. You can do, you can call them sports professionals also. However, the NBA, NHL, or not NBA, I guess, but NHL and MLB, how those players are getting into Canada, I'm not familiar with how they're doing that, but guys that are professionals in sports that are racing live or going live like we are, should be given the same care and due process. So I would hope in the next few weeks things will open up a little bit. If they don't open the border, that's fine. I think we're okay with that as a society on both sides of the border. But when it comes to people like me or people that are trying to go across and race, do we trust those people? I guess what I'm getting at. Do you trust me? Do you trust these people? And if you do, then how do we approach that? So I think this is obviously the first time this has ever happened since I've been alive, I would assume. And I think that maybe you have to be cautious, so give them some time, but at the same time it needs addressed. I think the longer we leave the border closed, it needs addressed. There are people working, and keep in mind, it's vitally important that I work, right? As a husband, as a provider, as a taxpayer, it's important that I work also. So that's where we're at with the stable. That's where we're at in my life. That's what's going on with Anthony McDonald and the stable.ca. We had a big day today. It is 4 o'clock right now. Kirby and Jason just pulled out. I'm in the parking lot. I'm pulling out now. Kind of boring at nights now. I can't go to the movies. Nothing to go see. Nothing to do. I'm certainly not going to the casino. I can tell you that. There's really nothing to do. So hopefully there's something on the movies, on the TV. Anyway, again, great night last night. Really excited about what's been going on here in Ohio. We had a pretty good night. Very similar night, I think, minus the win. See what a win does? If one of those horses had a won, it would have been rather incredible. But just a good night. Negative. Just a good night. Hope everybody is good and healthy, staying healthy. I hope the weather's nice where you're at, and I hope you're having a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.